My breath stinks and I can't stick this piece of paper to the wall.
Sounds like you need bluing gum.
Bluing gum?
Yes, it's the revolutionary idea of combining chewing gum with blue tack.
Wow!
Goodbye, bad breath. Goodbye, pieces of paper not sticking to the wall.
Thanks, bluing gum.
Bluing gum from Corbett. Now available in spearmint and aniseed flavors.
My lips are sticking together.
Welcome to an episode of Titles Mean Nothing. I'm Alex Thomas.
I'm Sasha Swift.
And today we're talking on the topic of making friends online. Something both of us have engaged with, dabbled with over the years. But Sash in particular has made a significant number of friends online, including myself.
So that brings us to our guests for the show today.
I'm Bodhi and I'm from Perth, Australia, and I currently live in the Netherlands. I'm a fantasy illustrator, doing a lot of work for tabletop role-playing games and board games and all sorts, but a lot of wizards and stuff.
And you have your own podcast as well.
I do have. It's called the Slow Quest Podcast, where I just talk to creative people within sort of the similar realm, of fantasy and fantasy creative stuff as me.
I'm KB. I'm from St. Louis, Missouri, in the United States. I work at a grocery store as a bakery clerk.
I met you both on the internet in various points of time. And I also met Alex on the internet some time ago through Tinder. So, Alex has prepared some questions about our experiences.
Yes, so I figured we'd get the timelines sort of established first. So, Bodhi, when did you and Sash first start talking? What was the method as well? MSN, MySpace, what kind of brought you together?
I'm really not great at details of stuff like this, but my memory says we talked on the Game Maker forum. It was a platform for making your own games. And after talking on there for a bit, I think we ended up talking on MSN for years. And this was I really don't know the specific year. It was when I was in high school. So it would have been 2000.
I think it was 2004, 2005, yeah.
It was at least then, or if not a year earlier or two.
That's a long time, isn't it?
Yeah, as soon as you said forums, I was like, wow, okay, we're going back away.
Yeah. And Game Maker, gosh, I haven't really used Game Maker in a long, long time. That was great, I think people underestimate that.
It's still good, and there's games released now, I think, or recently that were made in Game Maker still. It can be used really well, and it's a good thing for people. It makes it a bit more accessible to bring your little interactive creations to life.
And it was kind of more acceptable then to just randomly add someone. I don't remember scoping you out or anything and thinking, this is someone I would like to talk to. I just thought, I've got MSN.
I think it's a bigger commitment on MSN to add someone, whereas then we have more subtle means of communicating. You could follow someone on Instagram. That means it's not this commitment of adding you to your contacts. There's a bit more of a way of a lighter version of friendship that bit before MSN maybe we didn't have back then. So it was quicker to jump to that point.
I suppose at the age I was, I probably added quite a few people that I didn't know. Mm-hmm. It can be dodgy, in retrospect. I didn't know. You could have been anyone. I mean, you're not. We've firmly established over the last 15 years that you are not a creep.
Thank you.
And if you are, you've left it late. but there was that kind of thing where you just add as many people as you could, or it didn't matter, at that age. These days are more, I like to have control over who I've got on my contacts and things like that.
In terms of your friendship with Sasha, I know that you both have been a real big influence. We've been watching today some older work by Sasha where there's a namesake.
Yeah.
You do have a namesake. You know what? I thought it was a cool name. I'd never heard the name Bodhi before. I've never heard it since on anyone. I don't know another Bodhi. Does anyone else?
No.
No.
No, it's a good name.
I've never met one in real life, but like there's movies with them. There's like old English TV shows, and there's one of the main characters is Bodhi. The originals, I think. And then also Point Break, the main character is Bodhi.
So yeah, I think what Alex is getting at is when I was younger, I wanted to, I'm a videographer. That's what I do. I make videos as a trade, but it's been going since I was 10 or older, and I needed a main character for my spy comedy, and I may have borrowed your first name, Bodhi.
Good work, Bodhi.
And it's a little more embarrassing, like in retrospect, that I borrowed your name.
I'm sure it's flattering more than anything.
Is it flattering or embarrassing?
It was a little bit strange, but also I didn't think much of it. I didn't like read into it. I thought, oh yeah.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, I don't mind.
Yeah.
Wrong. And what about yourself, KB? I think, was it Tumblr where you and Sasha first met?
Yep. I was really into The Who at the time, and I had commented on one of her posts on Pete Townsend. And then we just started talking after that.
That was a real weird one for me, I think, as well, because I had done a big blog post on why Pete Townsend definitely is queer.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why that was such a passionate thing for me to say. But yeah, did you comment? And I just popped up, and it was probably meant to be a one-off, like, oh, thanks for the comment kind of thing.
Yeah, no, I think that's exactly what happened. I commented, and then we just randomly started talking.
Yeah, that was 2016, I'm going to say.
Peak Tumblr era. I think that's when I was on it, around the same kind of time. And it's interesting as well hearing about the different forums, different social media, and the etiquette around it. Sasha used to sort of blindly almost add as many people as possible. And I guess by the Tumblr era, you may have been starting to be a bit more selective and thinking a bit more about...
Yeah, I wasn't out to start making friends or anything, I don't think really in any of this. I mean, you go on Tumblr because you do want to sort of post things that will connect with people and find a kindred spirit in a way. But, like the Game Maker forums, you going on there just to, sometimes you'd play other people's games, but you'd also be asking for advice and tips and things like that, wouldn't you? Bodhi did some animation for one of my games.
I always think about that, and I can even remember the tune, because you made the music for it, and I animated, and that was the intro of the game, yeah.
I remember that music really well, yeah.
It's not often that a cinematic sequence in a game is more basic looking than the actual game.
The game was pretty basic.
But so was the intro, though. It was so simple.
I've still got that game. I've still got that intro. That was a shit game.
And I think in terms of reaching out and finding that kindred spirit, that love of The Who in particular, and sort of classic British rock, something that you guys have bonded over. I know sometimes I'll be shown flashes of sort of Instagram posts and, oh, look what KB's got. KB's found this record. It's always fun to see.
But of course, we also met online, Alex.
Yes.
But one thing I always think of is because we met on Tinder. I don't know. Do you both know that I met Alex on Tinder? Because it's kind of one of those things where I've probably told people a different story.
No, I think I remember you saying that.
I think so.
I always kind of forget, because I think online dating, although the reputation around it's got better over time, I know a few people that perhaps have short-term things with people over Tinder, over Bumble, that sort of site.
Yeah.
We've been unusually lucky, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I must admit, I probably downloaded Tinder the first time in 2015, and I just kind of used it on and off because I didn't really like it that much. So I kind of persisted till the end of 2018, which is when I met Alex. But that's one of the things about Tinder is a site where you specifically go to meet someone who is like you. And that's kind of a big deal, really. I started talking to a lot of people who were really boring or would just... They didn't want to engage on there. So I don't know why they bothered using it. I mean, making friends is hard enough, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Especially when you're in your 20s.
I mean, in a similar way, when it comes back to Tumblr, I personally have found making friends online that little bit easier than in person. You often find that because you've already established the fact you've got things in common, you're able to cut through things like small talk, which is something I'm not so great at myself. I don't know if anyone else has maybe found similar experiences.
No, I find it a lot much easier too. Just because, well, mostly because I'm just shy in general. But yeah, I think it's because of like, you get to see, like, read people's like commonalities and things like that. Like, and oh, so you like the Who, I like the Who. I think we're gonna be friends, or at least like be friendly with each other.
How many friends have I really got?
I guess having online platforms like that allow you to find people closer to your niche, like likes and interests. It's been an issue for me here moving to a new country, and like I have these friends online and I'm really used to finding people that really mesh with everything. It makes real life seem so much harder to make friends for me, I think, having that, like, I'm a bit more like particular about finding people really specifically more interested in stuff I am, and that's a lot harder in real life now, I think.
I suppose one of the things about where you live, Amsterdam, is that there are less people that speak English. Is that right?
Honestly, no, everyone here speaks English. Like, no, that's too broad, but like pretty much everyone. Like, I've gotten away with not having to learn Dutch so far. I should definitely, but just out of respect. But no, Amsterdam's very, like, most people here we meet aren't even from Amsterdam originally.
It's very much one of those metropolitan cities, isn't it, where you seem to get a lot of people from all round.
Yeah, it's like a hub for like a lot of big businesses have their like main sort of office here with people representing all the different areas and stuff.
And so another area that would be cool to discuss, I think, is the prospect of meeting IRL in real life. So Sash and Bodhi have met in real life, but KB and Sash haven't yet. And it'd be interesting, I think, for you guys to talk about your how you've met up, what that was like, and how it was transitioning from online friendship to IRL friendship.
I had a bit of a quarter-life crisis in 2016, and I thought, you know what? I've always wanted to go to Australia, and so I booked around a month of my life off work, and I just flew to Australia with not that much money on me, actually, and one of my plans was, you know what, I'll just hit certain stops, hit certain cities, and I thought, I lived in Birmingham at the time, and the only place you could fly to in Australia from Birmingham was Perth, and that's where you were living, Bodhi.
Yeah,
born and raised. and I thought, well, I've got to stop in and see Bodhi.
Yeah, it was a bizarre sort of thing to happen, really, like to be friends with someone for so long purely online. Like even at that stage, it had been a really long time, and it was, yeah, I don't know how to describe. I mean, it was so familiar to just hang out with you, but also just super weird. Like, just it was very like surreal experience.
I arrived very late. Not very late. It was about 6 p.m. your time, and I'd been like awake for 36 hours at that point, so I was already feeling pretty sort of dazed. Like, what am I doing? Where am I? Why have I come from the extreme cold to the extreme hot? And you picked me up at the airport. There was this joke we had where you were saying you were going to pay an actor, to pretend to be you, and I was just going to be like, oh, you look very different.
I don't know. It was definitely something I thought about, but I don't think seriously enough to actually look too much into it.
And it was this feeling of, wow, I'm in Australia. This is the other side of the world. But then I remember like waking up and you were outside like having breakfast, because that's what you do in Australia. And you had like almost like a look of shock on your face as I like said, "Oh, hello, morning," and like you hadn't really expected me to have been there all along.
I don't know. It's just one of those things that's so surreal. It is really bizarre. It was so nice to be able to show things that I've kind of like I must have talked about over the years. Of like I took you like to see I think you came to my parents' home and stuff, which is where
I did, yeah.
Most of our like relationship, like while we were talking, that's where I was.
We went to your parents because your car broke down the first day I was there.
Yeah. Oh,
yeah.
We went hiking, didn't we? Like
the thing I think is really cool is that because obviously I was filming all the time and I've got footage of a lot of this happening.
It's Bodhi. It's Bodhi, everybody, from Australia. So I've known you a long time.
Yeah.
On the internet. For you viewers, we met for the first time just yesterday. And he's a pretty cool guy.
Thanks. Notice these trees are all burnt.
Burned.
Yeah, it's like a common thing that they have like fires. I think it helps them like reproduce.
How is it? How is it having me in Australia?
It's pretty surreal.
Surreal?
I think we talked about last night. It's like it's a bit weird, but it's also very comfortable. Like it doesn't. It's two things at the same time. Two very different ends of an emotional spectrum.
You're a real person.
I am. Or I have enough money to pay an actor.
Something that stands out in terms of looking at that video, you mentioned about that feeling of it being surreal at first. It seemed that you were still both very comfortable. One bit in particular where you're on a ferry and I think you've had a couple of drinks and you're having a whale of a time and there's these people around just kind of thinking, what are these people so giggly about?
Oh, that was a great day. That was one of my favourite days of my life, I think. That was
a scary ferry ride. I was very spooked out during that period.
I was just this drunk English person on board this ferry, and I think the footage shows people are looking at me.
Yeah.
It's very choppy, isn't it?
Quite choppy.
This is better for being slightly tipsy, isn't it? I got anything to hold on to.
Please hold on. Hold on with more than that. Yeah.
Nice, man. How are you?
I'm alright.
Is this the most choppy ride you've ever had?
It's quite choppy, and I feel a bit nervous because I can't see anything either.
Yeah, it's fine. It's all good.
Everyone squeals, and then I'm like, oh, everyone's squealing. At least in turbulence on a plane, I'm the only one squealing.
This is insane. I don't think everyone's enjoying it though, are they?
I think so. Everyone's laughing until they die terribly.
We're not going to die.
Yeah, that was a nice day. We cycled around Rottnest Island. I met the quackers, or as I called them, quackos.
You lost your lock on your bike and managed to get them to still give you your deposit back. It was very dramatic, but not really that dramatic.
She was Welsh, so she took pity on me, being English. Yeah, that was it. Yeah, I went all the way around Australia again, and then we met up in Melbourne, didn't we?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah.
Just for a few days, I think. Yeah.
And by then it was like, oh, yeah, I've met you. Like, this is fine. Fine. It's cool. Yeah.
And you kept wanting to make tea, and I remember that being a very strange thing to me. It was like, no, we can't leave. I haven't made tea yet. Okay, what?
Am I a stereotype?
Yes, you are the English person. But also, why did you want to drink tea so much when it's so hot?
I don't know. Because I'm an addict. I've got a cup of tea right here next to me right now. You know how much tea I drink.
I do.
Yeah. And then me and Bodhi were parted at the end of 2016. But was it forever? I went to Amsterdam at September 2018 on a trip with a friend. And we had to see Bodhi, of course.
I think it was still at that stage where I didn't know Amsterdam well enough to feel good about like hosting someone.
Yeah.
Like I don't really know what to do yet. I'm just trying to like establish my life. But like it was really nice to see you again. And
I think the other thing about that was I was also like experiencing Amsterdam as a tourist anyway, because I just come for I was in a hostel. It was a nice hostel. I may have tried to get high, but I just didn't. I don't know how. I didn't, but You'd think it'd be the easiest place in Europe to get high, but apparently not. And the last time I saw you, I was running for a tram. That's the end of our IRL interactions so far. But I know we've been in the country, England, at the same time, but we haven't met up.
I was going to be over soon, actually, but of course the event was cancelled. It would have been a good chance to pop by and see you, maybe.
And in terms of your friendship with KB, Sasha, have you ever spoken about maybe a trip to America or how that would go?
There is this prevailing sense of, God, I don't want to go to an America with Donald Trump as the president. Yeah? Have you any more to add?
I don't blame you. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
Waking up every day in a country with him as, I was going to say PM, as president, it's got to be an interesting state. And is Missouri, is that the Midwest?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
Almost in the middle, actually. I think
in the middle.
I can't remember. I think Kansas is like the very middle, and we're right to the right of them.
Okay, cool.
I've always put you down, though, KB, as a bit of an Anglophile.
Yes.
You like Britain, and you've been to Britain before, whereas I haven't been to America. And
yeah,
I just get the impression you'd like to sort of take a very long extended stay here.
I'd much rather do that, actually. I mean, as much as I'd love to have you over here, like I know I'd really enjoy it coming over. Yeah, that it was funny. I think I took that trip like almost exactly a year before we met. It was a lot of fun. We hit up a lot of like the touristy places, though, like the Globe and Westminster Abbey, like places like that. So I'd definitely be up for something or going somewhere a bit more local and like fun.
Me and Alex are hoping to have a place of our own very soon, and we do talk about it, don't we? We talk about how nice it would be for you to visit and how it would be nice to meet in real life. We were talking, I don't know whether it was last year or the year before, about doing the Chicago Beetle Fest. No, there's always going to be a first time we meet in real life, and it would be horrible to go to an America where, you know, Trump is the president and there's riots because of Black Lives Matter.
Yeah.
And there's never going to be, you know, a utopian meeting in real life.
No.
Sort of hospital. Not hospital.
What?
Like a magical venue that's perfect in every way. Yeah, come to England once we open our borders again.
Yay!
Yeah, Corona's stopping pretty much everyone meeting in real life, so...
The UK position at the minute is that there's a fortnight quarantine, and that's going to be dropping for some countries. But the US at the minute is on our kind of red list because of the a number of cases.
Yeah, because we didn't listen very well.
We're well aware of what's going on in America.
Unfortunately.
We get so much American news, considering we don't live there.
Yeah.
You'd think we'd maybe get more from France or Germany from a geographical point of view, but it's always the US and the special relationship. But maybe Kanye will change it all.
Oh yeah, Bodhi, what's your view on Kanye for president?
Oh, it can't be worse.
I mean, you'd hope, wouldn't you? But imagine having the two worst US presidents in a row.
Oh.
It becomes a platform for celebrities if that happens, doesn't it? You know, the idea that Trump and then Kanye could be president. Like, who's next?
Ringo.
I vote for him.
Ringo for president! Yeah, Ringo for president! Whoa, Ringo for president!
It was foretold. No, I think I would feel better with Kanye as president than the current situation, because I don't think he would actively do quite so much harm, maybe accidentally.
If there's one thing you just can't know for sure, it's that.
Well, it's not even real anyway, is it? I was pretty sure it wasn't actually. It was just like a tweet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he said it before. So
Yeah.
He did a couple of years ago, I think.
So what I was wondering is, Do you both have sort of other friends online? Are you seeing other people? You know, behind my back.
Yeah, I've always been a really like, I don't know, just someone who's always been at the computer, really like involved online with things, and I've always had somewhat of like an online community of friends, but like none as close as you, of course. But as I said before, there's niche communities online, and especially like in my line of work, which is it's not super common here. Like I don't have any local friends that really I feel like I can talk to about the things I'm doing. So it is really important that I have people online that are going through similar things. Like that's what's really great about online, is you can find those people no matter how niche that is. And so I do have like a couple of Discord channels with different, like each one of a different theme. Like one's for D&D, one's for illustration, and yeah, I have a few good friends from years ago as well. But yeah, it is a big part of my like social connection is my online friendships.
But one of the other things I suppose that you have as well is you have an audience because of the things you do, your illustrations, and now your podcast. So does that have like an impact, or have you met anyone through that, or?
Yeah, like every now and then. I think what you'd say, like my people who follow me online, like I don't have a huge interaction beyond like comments on like Instagram posts and stuff with them, but I guess it does, being in those circles allows me to bump into other people that with common interests, and I have made a few really good friends through like I met up with someone in LA just through Instagram, little chit chat. We ended up, and I was there, and I was like, "Oh, where should go hang out?" And now we talk a bit more, and yeah, it's cool meeting those people in real life as well. Only happened a few times.
When we were in Melbourne, you met up with someone with me, didn't you? There was someone from the US who was in Melbourne. Yeah. And that was the first time you'd met him, right?
So they were from a Minecraft. So I had a Minecraft webcomic.
Yes.
And then I had a little like server, so anyone who liked the comic could come and play Minecraft, and we could all play together. And that became like a really big community that, and it's still going today, that I'm not even a part of anymore. It's just this like little Minecraft community. But I used to play with him, with this guy, and yeah, it's so funny. I met him with you, who I was also kind of in the process of meeting. Like double internet meeting. But I still chat to him quite a bit, actually. We actually played Minecraft yesterday together.
What about you, KB? Do you speak to any other people online, really, or?
Not really. A lot of the people I do speak to are friends from college, and they're out of state. They don't live in Missouri, so we keep in touch on Facebook Messenger and places like that. And I think I've got at least one friend who's been friends with me on Tumblr for a few years, and we keep in touch, but we're not as close as you and I, Sasha.
There is that thing where like your real friends become online friends, I suppose.
I've had that with university, similar sort of thing, where we spread out all over the UK, some people international as well. We've spent, a year, 2 years, 3 in one another's presence, but now you've got, one person in Edinburgh, one person in Hong Kong, that kind of thing.
The platforms as well have changed. There was, maybe a period of about 6-7 years where MSN was just the way, Kind
of the equivalent to WhatsApp now, I'd say, where it's kind of always on, always running.
I wasn't always on. Bodhi was always on MSN.
But you couldn't send messages to people who weren't online, right? That's such a funny concept to think of, not being able to send messages to someone who's not there. That's so bizarre, actually, now.
Yeah, they introduced it later. But you'd get an error message, wouldn't you? Yeah.
It's interesting as well hearing Bodhi use the term community, because another kind of online friendship that I'd not really thought about ahead of the episode was with you and I, Sash, in terms of the trans community. For me in particular, that would be a big resource in terms of learning about, different people's experiences, different people's, processes in terms of transition and that kind of thing. And we've both met other trans people online, and I know, like, for you in particular, I can think of a few people that you've got good friendships with, and it goes beyond just that part of your identity. But that sense of community and mutual understanding, I think it can't be undervalued.
Yeah, I mean, there were local sort of Facebook groups a few years ago, and still now, where there would be communities, related to a geographical area, but there'd be a trans support group or something like that, and so you would have people who maybe you spoke to online, but it was kind of on the understanding that the online bit is brief, and you're probably going to meet this person very soon, kind of thing. So not like speed dating. I mean, it's just kind of geographically, and with the events that ran as well, it was inevitable kind of thing. And that was good for trans support, yeah. And also the other thing is, I met people on Tinder who just became my friends. I mean, I think a lot of people just use it for hookups and things, don't they?
Since I came to live here, it sunk in that I didn't have like local friends after like a few months. Like it's something I never really thought I needed, but definitely I think it really helps having people to hang out with face to face a bit. I started trying to use Bumble Friends, and that was a really unusual experience.
I used Bumble Friends recently, just to give it another go, because I think with lockdown and everything, I live with one of my oldest, closest friends. I've got Sash, but for a long time I couldn't actually physically meet up, and I thought, do you know what, after this is over, it'd be nice to have people in maybe the same sort of town or region that I could go to the pub with or whatever it might be. I personally found it was mirroring a lot of my experiences as the sort of more dating environment on Tinder back in the day, where the conversation wouldn't ever really go anywhere, which with the majority of people, which in a way is a shame, because you feel, I personally felt as though I was hitting dead ends. But if you do have niche interests, I suppose that's quite natural until you do find someone that you hit it off with. How did you get on with the Bumble friendship?
I think I was because you're sort of going in there actively, like it's unusual to actively be pursuing someone as a friend. Like it seems so strange, but like I think everyone becomes sort of hypercritical of the person they're talking to, like thinking, oh, I wouldn't like that in a friend, like, oh, they don't really like this movie, so I don't really like. It's because you're so not invested in that friendship yet, you're able to just like be, and because you were there to make a like best friend, I think you're a bit more able to just cut it off. And so it's easy to just like leave them behind in the chats and not really like give it a good chance, which is I think what would happen if you went and did an activity and you just happen to be around some people, you'd have more of a chance to really like figure out if you clicked, I think.
Yeah, there were a couple of odd things on there where you could, and different regions might have different sort of setups, but on the UK version there were filters, so you could filter someone out, for instance, if they had pets or not, or if they were a smoker or not, or kids or not. And it is like a snap judgment of someone, just because, say, someone smokes doesn't mean that they're not worth your time or something, for example. But having the filter there, like you say, it kind of makes you more picky or more choosy, perhaps, in some circumstances, than, you bump into someone in the workplace, or, you just get chatting to someone out and about. I don't really know how people meet in real life, so those are examples that might not actually work out, but it is strange how the sort of etiquette around meeting people, whether it is romantic or more platonic, has developed over the time.
Yeah.
How do you meet people? I don't know.
Generally?
How do you make friends with people? I mean, it's just... and the other thing is, especially being sort of trans, there is this worry, that people are being constantly judgmental, because there is so much ignorance. And when you're in that position, you get on your high horse about things, and I am constantly on my high horse about things, about, you know, people saying things without thinking, and maybe I do go a bit overboard at times, but, you know, it's not wrong to want to be treated with respect. And I'm going on a bit of a tangent here, but what I'm saying is, you know, you do kind of want people who, you know, me as sort of a liberal, I don't want to risk meeting someone who doesn't think I should have rights, you know. I don't know, sorry. I think you both know what I mean.
Yeah, I think it's good that there are some of those options, but when they give you, like, to filter out who you're going to talk to, but when they give you so many options, it's hard not to be like, yeah, it'd just, as Alex said, like, it'd be so easy to just be like, yeah, I don't really want a friend that smokes, even though I'd be totally okay with having a friend that smokes, but, you know.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because I don't like smoking, but I've had friends that smoke, and I don't like them any less because they smoke.
Yeah.
Unless they force me to secondhand smoke, but they generally don't force me. Like.
And that's a matter of manners more than anything, isn't it?
Yeah.
The approach I tend to take online is just being really upfront. So I'll have pronouns in the banner. I'll have, I'm non-binary, or a rainbow flag, or some sort of indicator. Partly because if someone, you know, is hateful, they'll either steer clear or send me abuse and I can block them. Or someone else who's LGBT sees it as an indicator that, okay, this is the foundation for having a discussion, perhaps, or I know this person's going to be all right with me to talk to. That carries its risks in some respects. I personally have gotten okay, but I know other people that have either had, you know, out and out abuse or harassment in other ways. You know, the whole topic's really interesting. In terms of, I think for me, it's been kind of the millennial generation that's kind of been scoping out what it's like to make friends online, and we've had lots of different forums, websites, etc. And it's just one of those interesting evolutionary things, I think. Like Tumblr, for instance, a lot of people have moved away from using that site now, because of like Yahoo buying it and stuff like that. So I just find the whole thing interesting, and it's been lovely as well getting to know Sash and hearing, you know, your various stories and anecdotes about these guys.
What about a last word from Bodhi and KB? Have you had a nice time on the podcast?
It's been fun. This is my first podcast. I was a bit nervous, but I feel totally at ease right now. You know.
We'll probably end up roping you into more podcasts in the future.
I think it's really fun and interesting to sort of analyze stuff like this and the differences between online friends and real life friends. And yeah, I know, it's good. I enjoyed. I was happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
So that's been Titles Mean Nothing. I'm Alex Thomas.
I'm Sasha Swift.
And our guests have been KB and Bodhi.